Hey everyone, today we're taking a look at the Revoltech Amazing Yamaguchi Agent Venom. I'm really excited for this figure. I've always liked Venom, and I thought Agent Venom was a super cool character. I haven't kept up with the more modern comics, but I did read the Agent Venom comics back when they first came out. And Agent Venom was actually the first armor cosplay I made. Along with that, it's always fun just to have an action figure of a character you've cosplayed, for me at least, which doesn't line up super often. I mean, I have Super Boo, and I'm getting Kaiju number 8 and Nightcrawler, so there's a few in there. But along with that, I just enjoy Revoltech figures in general, so I'm expecting to like this one, and hopefully it's a good one. Here's a look at the package. It's the newer style Revoltech packaging that they're doing. I don't necessarily care about the packaging either way. I normally toss it out, but this is cleaner than their older versions. On the top it says Venom. Shot of the figure on the side, a couple pictures on that side as well, and then some nice poses on the back, and it shows off all the accessories. I also got the version with the exclusive head, so that will just come in a little baggie. Here he is out of the package. I tried to get him into a neutral stance since I know that can be a bit of a concern for Amazing Yamaguchi figures. Overall, I think he looks good here, but one issue is that he can't lower his arms all the way. This is about as far as they'll go. It's either that he's a little too bulky or that the angle that ball hinge comes out at is just preventing it from going down more. This isn't a huge concern for me personally, since the main draw of these figures for me is the articulation, but that is something to note if that is something that could bother you. Taking a closer look at some of the details, I love the different finishes going on here. He's got the matte black for the head and neck, as well as this little armor piece on the neck. Then any of the white parts on him is a metallic white, which just looks really nice, and that's against a gloss black that also has a bit of a texture sculpted into it throughout all these little symbiote bits. Parts of the outfit that could be the undersuit or non-armored soft parts tend to be the matte finish, like here on the bicep and the inside of the arm, and then down the side of the figure here, as well as the pants and any of the pouches. Then any of those armored hard symbiote parts have that glossy finish and that nice texture sculpted in, so that's going to be the shoulders, down the sides of the arms, the chest, back, and the spiky shins. There are also a few silver details like the buckles on the legs, the belt buckle, and these two little triangles on the chest. It just looks super nice overall. I like this a lot. A few peg holes in the back where you can put the accessories. We'll show those later. On the face, there's also black gloss for the eyes, surrounded by that white metallic. Just looks really nice. And then there's some wrinkles sculpted into the forehead here. And there's also a nice jaw shape, and you can make out an ear in the side of the head. So it looks nice. Sometimes with Spider-Man masks they can start to look a little bit blobby or undefined, so I like that it looks like there's a human head under here. So overall I think it looks great. There's a lot of visual interest here, and I think it's really going to stand out in a display. And the different finishes make it look a bit more premium, which is good for the price, since he is a little bit pricey. So aesthetically, I think this is the best looking Agent Venom figure that's come out so far. I can pull out the Marvel Legends later for comparison. On to articulation, the head's a little difficult to pull off. Normally it pops out of the neck, so I'll just show it on the alternate head. This came with the exclusive version. There is a double ball peg in here, but it has a bend in it, kind of like a Mafex figure, which should help with looking up, but may hinder looking down a little bit. We'll see if that's the case, and if the neck articulation balances out looking down. So looking up, we can get about this much range before the head bumps into the back of the armor here. This armor does shift forward and back just a little bit. Looking down, look about that far before the chin touches the neck, and then with that neck articulation can really bury his chin into his chest. and the neck armor. There is side-to-side tilt on both the head and the neck, and since it's a double ball peg, you can really get it positioned however you'd like. At the neck, it's just a single ball peg, but it works well. So I like that. At the shoulders, it's going to be that Revoltech ball hinge, and also the sort of, I guess, butterfly joint, where this section can shift forward and back. Kind of rotates it up and down as well. So you get that rotation there. And then the ball hinge going into that. So you can bring the arm up about 90 degrees. Not terrible. That is the armor bumping into the collar here. A little bit of a swivel on the armor itself. There's a bicep swivel. The elbow technically has two joints, the Revoltech ball hinge and then a ball peg that goes into the forearm. So with that, the arm will go up that much, a little more than 90 degrees before that forearm starts to bump into the bicep. Not terrible, not the most range. I think you're still going to be able to get some dynamic poses out of it though. Difficult to avoid with the bulging bicep here. Also, noticing now there's some wrinkles sculpted in, and the muscles look defined in there, so that looks nice. And you get some more definition here, and this follows the forearm shape. With that little ball peg, you can shift the forearm around a little bit. For some reason on the right arm, I'm able to get just a little bit more range out of the elbow. I think everything's positioned the same way, so I'm not really sure why. Let's see, let's fiddle with it a little bit. Okay, yeah, so actually if you have the forearm positioned so that the bicep goes straight into this little gap here, then you could get some pretty good range there. More than 90 degrees, so that's good. I'm happy with that. I think before this arm was just rotated in a little bit and the joint's a little bit tight, so it wasn't rotating out all the way when I was posing it up there. At the wrist, a little tiny Revoltech ball hinge, and due to that you get both your horizontal and vertical hinge, so that's good. At the torso, there's a ball peg at the diaphragm and then another ball peg at the waist. So just on that diaphragm joint, you can lean it back that much. There will be a bit of gapping, but you can adjust that. It leans forward this much, so a little bit of gapping in the back. And then with the waist and that together, lean back this much and forward very far. So that's really nice. I like that. The gaps don't bother me. I would rather there be gaps than limited articulation, and you can hide those away with the pose. There is also side to side tilt. Get all sorts of tilt on that. Bunch of rotation at the diaphragm. A little rotation at the waist because it's an oval there, so it's going to squeak against the belt, whereas at the diaphragm it's more rounded. For the little pouches on the belt, there's going to be two Revoltech ball hinges back here, and that will allow you to hinge these out or up or rotate them around to get them out of the way of the other articulation. So they shouldn't hinder the legs at all and should be easily moved out of the way. Technically you could also pop these out if you want, if you just don't want him to have those pouches on the side in general. And those pop back in easily. At the hips, the legs go out. If you just pull them out to the side, they'll go out this much. But then if you use this angled thigh swivel, you can rotate this, and then you can get the full splits that way. So great range there. You just have to know how to fiddle the articulation a little bit. The legs will kick forward this much, so not the most range there. You can see the thigh starts to bump into the belt line. Just a smidge. If we rotate it out at an angle a little bit, like turning that thigh swivel again, you can get it up to that much. That does rotate the foot to the side a little bit though. And then bringing the leg back about that much range before it clashes into the butt. A single jointed knee that will get this much range, so great range there. This is their like split hinge design, where there's a split here and the joints connected horizontally. Sometimes these will get loose on some figures I've had. Deadpool, mine is super loose and floppy. Spider-Man 2.0, it just falls off if I hinge it up all the way. So far, these are alright. I don't have issues with them on this figure yet, but that is always a concern of mine when they have this split hinge design. At the shins, there's a cut here in the armor, and that allows for this shin hinge. So that helps you get just an extra bit of range out of the leg if you really need to tuck it up, or if you need to hyperextend it forward. At the foot, this will go back this much, basically all the way before it starts to squeak against the armor. Forward, not the most. See if I can tuck it under the armor and if it gets any more. No, not really. Not the most forward range, but pretty decent. And then there is an ankle rocker. Get pretty good range there, and a toe hinge. Toe hinge is alright. It feels relatively snug. There's a little bit of looseness in the middle here, but having it down and up all the way, it's a bit more snug. And I think the rotation point in the toe looks pretty good. It doesn't really break up the sculpt. So overall articulation, I think they're doing a pretty good job at splitting the difference between aesthetic and hyper articulation. They've reeled it in a little bit and have got the designs looking a bit better in normal neutral poses, but also they can still get a lot of range and you can have a lot of fun posing these. For accessories, I got the exclusive version, so the bonus accessory for that is a Venom head. It did cost a bit more. I got it from HobbyGenki, but I love Agent Venom, so I wanted all the accessories. So we'll just go over this real quick. Not all of them will have this. If you get the standard version, it won't include this head. Again, that same white on the eyes, that looks great. Wrinkles on the forehead also look great. The overall shape, I'm a fan of here. It's got the big smile. The red is painted pretty cleanly, and the teeth look nice and dingy. Mine does either have, he's either got a gap in between his two front teeth, which is fine, or there's just a splotch of red paint there. Either way, I don't think it looks bad. On the side here, there is one little smudge of red paint coming out of the mouth there. In use, not actually that noticeable, but just know that there may be some very minor QC inconsistencies. Overall, I really like the bonus head. For me, it was worth it. It may not be for everyone though. Otherwise, for hands, fist hands come on him in the package. These also have a hole in them where you can peg web accessories. So dual purpose fist hands there, that's nice. For the rest of the hands, I love this little hand holder that they came on. One, because I could just hold them all here and not have to swap them all out. And two, because then I won't lose the hands and it keeps the peg hole stretched out so you don't have to worry about those getting tight and having difficulty putting them back on the hands. So, two more fist hands, but these have a hole on the back of the hand for web shooting out. 4 of these little glossy symbiote hands, and these will go on the tendrils that I'll show in a moment. And these can grip the gun accessories. All 4 of them are little gripping hands. 2 gripping hands for holding the guns. 2 kind of open, relaxed hands, and then 2 claw hands. So a good amount of hands. I like that. Also kind of a hand. 1 spiked blade hand. This is glossy near the bottom and then is airbrushed silver at the top. I think this looks really nice. This is a cool accessory. I kind of wish there were 2 of them, but also there are already a lot of accessories, so I guess they'll be asking for a lot. Even without 2 of them, I'm happy with the accessories. It just would have been cool to dual wield the spiky hands. All the hands are painted well. I like that the symbiote hands look nice just in the gloss black to differentiate them a little bit. And then the sculpt on the claw hands is nice. There's wrinkles on the back of the hands. And then they really look like curled up and aggressive, like they're ready to attack. Then on the palms of the hands, those are also sculpted and look nice. There's some little wrinkles in there. It comes with 2 of these webs. They have a little peg hole on one side, some little swirly bits in the middle, and it looks like they're cast in a translucent clear plastic and then they're airbrushed with white paint. So they're still a little bit translucent in some spots. They look nice. This is the same web sculpt as the ones that came with the 2.0 Spider-Man. So then on the fist hands, that'll just slot in the hole there. You can have it looking like he's holding onto a web for swinging or pulling or whatever. And then for these with the hole on the back of the hand, I'll also just slide in there. You can have him shooting the web out. So those look nice. For the weapons, it comes with 4 of these little holsters and 4 of these half guns. It's kind of just the grip and then a little rectangular bit off the front, and that will slide into the holster. That'll allow it to sit flush against the figure. So on the hips there are these little peg holes, and you can just peg that in there. While it comes with 4 of these holsters, there's only 2 spots to peg them into. So I'm not really sure why there are 4. I guess just extras if you lose them. These don't really fit in the other peg holes on the back or anything, so I guess it's good to have extras. And those look nice when they're pegged into the side of the figure. I just realized that these little front pouches on the belt are pegged in so they can swivel around a little bit, and you can pull those out and peg in the gun holsters. So that's where you can put the extra gun holsters. So we can hold all 4 of them at once. So that's neat. And if you want to move your little pouch down to the hip, you can do that. It also comes with 2 of these little pouches. Those also have a peg. So alternatively, you could just have a little pouch on the side of the leg instead, or mix and match those. Along with those half pistols and the holsters, there are also these complete pistols. It comes with 4 of these. The grips on them are kind of just rectangles. They're kind of small and they don't include very many details on the back here, but that's to allow for it to easily slip into the hands. Here's one of our gripping hands, and pistol just slips into there, and then you can't really tell that the grip wasn't that detailed. And they just really easily slide into there. There's a little bit of resistance. He holds them well, and you don't have to deal with trying to pry the hands open or anything like that. Same thing for these little symbiote hands. We'll just slide in here. It slides into these a little bit easier, I think just because it's the smoother glossy plastic, and those hands hold them well as well. I think those little hands look pretty cute with their chunky fingers. Along with those pistols, there are 4 effect parts. You can always count on Amazing Yamaguchi to come with some effect parts. So these are little blast effects. There's a hole the same shape as the front of the pistol there, so this will just slide onto the front like that. And I think these look cool. There's a little hole in the front there. They're yellow with some orange airbrushing around the edges. So yeah, these look nice. They're nice and bright. The contrast against the rest of the figure looks really nice. This bright yellow orange against the black and white. It just looks cool. Then the final gun is this big grenade launcher. This looks pretty cool. Like the pistols, it's just plain black plastic, but the sculpt is nice. It also has the smooth rectangular handle at the back. The front is sculpted in case you just want to have him holding it with one hand. The blast effects don't work with this accessory though, only the pistols. That just slips in as well, and he holds this well. So you can hold that with one hand, or we can also get him holding it with two hands pretty easily. Whoop. So we can get him holding that well. You can get a cheek weld going on there. So yeah, that looks nice. A good amount of weapon accessories. He will also come with 4 of these little tendrils, and these can plug into any of the 4 spots on the back of the figure. Like that. And then there is a Revoltech ball hinge at the base, and one in the middle, and then a little one here that you can plug another accessory into. So the options for that will be this big hooked tendril. This looks cool. It has a nice curve to it, pointy hook, and then a little extra hook coming over here for just some extra visual interest. That looks nice. That can just slide onto the end of the tendril there, and that'll look cool. Very long. So a lot of potential there for some cool poses. So it'll come with 2 of those, and then 2 of these smaller ones. So there's what the smaller one looks like, a little less cumbersome and unwieldy. I like the way this one looks as well. Also has a good shape to it. I like the way it gets a bit wider here at this little diamond shape and then tapers back down to the point. And then if you don't want just little tendril looking bits, you can also plug in the little symbiote hands, and they can be holding all the gun accessories. So that's great as well. I think it's really cool that you can have him decked out with all the guns and just tendrils everywhere. So there's just a quick example of him loaded up with all the weapons. It's just a lot of fun to be able to put a ton of accessories on a figure. For extra eyes, he'll come with green eyes, wider open eyes, and then squinty eyes. These all look pretty cool. To swap these out, it'll come with this little poking accessory, and then inside the head you can see these little white nubbins. You can just take the little tool and poke at the nubbins. And hopefully they'll come out. Those are in there pretty snugly. I ended up having to heat the head up with a hairdryer and using a little screwdriver to pry the eyes out, and it was a struggle. But once you get those out, then you can just pop in a different eye pretty easily. So there's the wide eye, and then let's see if the removal goes any better than the initial removal. It did look like some paint had, like maybe they were wet around the edges when they got inserted into the figure initially, and the paint had dried and left them there. Yeah, so that's easier to pop out after the initial eye removal, thankfully. So here he is with the green eyes. Here he is with the wide open eyes. And here he is with the squinting eyes. I'll say you gotta be careful when removing the eyes, because they'll come flying out of there sometimes. One of those wide open eyes, I don't know where it is now. Not on the table. So I'll have to crawl around to try to find it, unfortunately. Finally, for accessories, it comes with a display stand and a little baggie with some extra Revoltech joints, 2 of the small ones and 1 big one. So a good spread of accessories overall. Always a lot of fun accessories with Amazing Yamaguchi, so I'm happy with these. For size and comparisons, Agent Venom is standing at about 6.5 inches tall. Here he is with the Amazing Yamaguchi Venom and 2.0 Spider-Man. You can see here how the extra armor bits on top of Agent Venom cover up the Revoltech joints that are normally apparent. Here he is with the Sentinel Spider-Man and Mafex Black Suit Spider-Man. For a couple non-Spider-Man figures, here he is with a NECA Last Ronin Raphael and the Savage Crucible Imperial Sentry. Here he is next to the Marvel Legends Agent Venom, and he looks a whole lot better than this old figure. A much needed upgrade. Overall, I'm really enjoying this figure. It looks great. The different finishes against each other look really nice. I have fun posing it, like I do with most of my Amazing Yamaguchi figures, and it being Agent Venom, it's just a character I really enjoyed, and I think looks really cool. So I'm really happy to have this one. Plus, it's got a bunch of fun accessories. The only real issue I had was trying to swap out those eyes. But other than that, I think it's great. It also scales well with pretty much every other Spider-Man. So I think if you're a fan of Agent Venom, you're going to really like this figure. I recommend it. Let me know if you're planning on picking up this figure, or what you think of Agent Venom in general in the comments below. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.